Friendly greetings, it's Torley. I'm going to go into some detail about how I decide to choose music gear, how I decide what to buy. And it's a particularly timely topic because I was looking at the donations that I've received and contributions. Thank you so much to each and all of you who have purchased the Dream Journal, of course, that's my flagship, or Piano Verse, and the other music that I've done. I've really been thankful for that. And by investing in me, I put that right into gear like this, which helps me to make more music. Now, one of the things you should know off the bat is that I am quite frugal about my gear. I will not pick multiple items that overlap greatly. For instance, I know it's hard to see from this angle, but this keyboard has a different key action and it serves a different purpose than this one on top. This one has lots of blinky knobs and buttons, good for real-time control to modulate, to change sounds over time. Whereas this one is a lot more minimal. Of course, I have this little Korg Nano control over it, which is handy. But this one is more for 88 keys and playing more pianistic pieces. Whereas this one, I have aftertouch, which means I can press a key, then press it down further. Good for wild, rocking out synth solos and that sort of thing. So I don't like to duplicate choices. I may have a prime grand piano sound and an upright, creaky kind of one. And I do have a favorite in that category. It's the Braunschweig upright. I keep mentioning this by imperfect sample. So if you ever hear a piano in my music that sounds very detuned, it's probably that one or a variation thereof. With too much choice, the problem becomes paralysis. It's incredible that now we can have thousands of sounds within a computer that we can play via something like this, which is a controller. It's connected via USB and you play it and it triggers sounds within it. Doesn't have sounds within it to begin with, unlike, say, a traditional synthesizer workstation. And I'm moving away from that model because that adds to the price, the weight, the complexity, and it's not right for my needs, which is, of course, another point. Some people, they feel so pressured to buy what their friends or people on a message board recommend, and it may be good intentions, but if you don't try it out firsthand somehow, you simply don't know. And with the stuff nowadays, with a lot of software synthesizers that you can buy, they're right on the computer because they're software. You can download them and try a demo version within minutes, even seconds. So I use that a lot. I go through that a lot. I do my project preset videos to show these are my first naive impressions. A few days later, I may really like it. Some of the stuff I end up buying and some of it not right away. Some of it waits till later if I have more of a need. One of the things I think I held off too long on was getting a better reverb for acoustic spaces. I thought in my mind, and this turned out to be a false perception, that the Ableton Live one could cover it all. But comparing with the Redline reverb, which I did a video of as well, so I waited. And of course, I'm always looking out for discount coupons, group buys, and other frugal options like that. I love to be thrifty about making my buck go further. Because my music is not just ever about the music. It's not even just about the music and the dreams I have with it that are greatly motivated by your support. My music, of course, is tied to productivity culture, getting things done, being very effective, saving money and spending it where it counts. So that's sort of a very unique fusion. It's not a fashionable combination yet, but I think as time goes by, we'll see more musicians that are very conscious about that, very conscious about, as I am, being a systems thinker in that we look at things holistically, how spending on one part will affect another. For instance, if you have, sometimes it's worthwhile to invest in something that costs a bit more, if it gives more pleasure down the road. You don't always know these things for sure, but sometimes you can make a reasonable assessment. Like Apple Macintosh computers are a good example of that for me. I own several over the years, and they really put a smile on my face. And so does the Ableton Live digital audio workstation. It's what I compose in. And those word wars on message boards, forums, the like, blogs, comments, YouTube even, are worthless, because if someone's trying to dissuade you from something that you already know works for your workflow and you're having a lovely time with it, then it carries no value. Be open to other options, do try things, but you can't afford to try everything. There's opportunity cost in the world. Look up that term. And another toy that I got recently, I have not learned to play this yet. It's an electronic flute. It's the EWI USB, the electronic wind instrument. I think it's flipped here, but you can see I don't have it on or anything. It's neat because you can chomp, not too hard, and you can make it control different. You'll have to hear it. I've actually used it a little bit, not for the notes. I haven't learned to use the fingerings, but I have learned to. It's a breath controller, because when I was younger, I had a Yamaha BC3. It was cool. It didn't have the fingerings. You just blow it. And it's cool because with flute things and with any instrument that you can control in this computer, you can blow it and make it harder. Now, I should give a demo in the future. I really should, because it's one of those things I can't just talk about. That's boring within itself. But thank you so much. Dream Journal, help. Your contributions help. Get this. I'm excited. You can tell. And I got that on eBay, and I used the Bing cashback. Make sure to look at that. It's 8% right now. If you use buy it now, you can get stuff for cheaper. Sometimes it's raised as high as 35%. This one I actually got, I think it was 15% off, and Native Instruments Complete, when that was available, when I got that, I think it was last year, that was 25% off, and it's at a good price now. Complete 6, I got Complete 5. Anywho, it's so weird because my webcam used to be here. Have you noticed things have shifted? Yes. Did some house cleaning. I've just been looking at some selections on my dusty little iPod Touch. I discovered on Bandcamp that you can actually, is it blown out there? Hard to see, pardon, but you can actually put song lyrics on it. It'll show up. I didn't know that before. So I put some of the stories of ambitizers, and perhaps that's something I will expand on with the Dream Journal. Now, another reason why I would choose to buy something, why I in turn, after you support me, I would in turn choose to support a software or hardware developer, is if I really like their overall attitude. Ableton, for instance, seems very creative and supportive. I mean, perhaps all music companies are creative, but them particularly so with their overall branding and how they show featured artists. I know some sites will just list quotes, and I like to hear. So Ableton will often put live packs by those artists. You can try out their music firsthand and remix it. I think that's great, and one of the reasons why I chose Ableton Live. I will also choose smaller companies, not just because they're small, but because the support could be more intimate. You can get a better reply. Like Wave Alchemy, I will repeat their name over and over because what they do is grand. And disclaimer, of course, that right now I am getting free promos from them, and I'm going to be blogging for them. Stay tuned. But Dan and Steve, I first was acquainted with their work because I saw their sound effects collection, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Their SFX collection 01. And I found out it was two guys, and I don't know if they've gotten help on that particular release or other ones, but this is one case in which they've been quite responsive, and they share the stories behind what they're doing when I've asked. And Jeremiah Savage, he's a brilliant sound designer who's done the Native Instruments Acoustic Refractions and Sonic Fiction. That's another one. He's amazing. And the video that he showed with Sonic Fiction and explaining in the manual, why did he come up with certain sounds and why did he call them as they are? So I love it when small teams of people or even one or two, a pair of individuals can come together and make something which benefits so many musicians, that you can take a tool and not just for geek's sake, but you can craft something out of that. And not to disequate the word geek from emotion. For me, they are interrelated, but sometimes there is the dark side of geeking out when you create things that sometimes you can't even relate to, or a lot of people that you want to share it with is too far out. And that's why I love bridging what is familiar with what is alien. You have a means of transport across the worlds. So that's a few reasons of why I choose what I do. And I do like seeing a lot of the gear questions I get, but a lot of them I can't even relate to. For example, when I'm asked, what is the best so-and-so? I have not tried these many permutations. I don't have the inclination. I am quite happy with what I have now. I am always looking for open possibilities for improvement, but that is based on a list. I do keep a list of things I'd like to see improved. In the cases where something else fulfills the items on that list, then yeah, I'll consider transitioning or using both if I have that option. And again, a recapitulation back to the beginning, I don't like to overlap things too much. For example, I use Arturia Analog Factory, and that covers a lot of the vintage synth sounds quite well, as does East West Goliath. And there are a few others. Virtual analog synthesis to make things sound old is such a staple. I wouldn't say it's tired and worn. I wouldn't even say it's overdone, but it is quite common that way. So I look to things like Synplant, and Sonic Charge is another developer, a couple of brothers, I believe, and some of their colleagues, that they make really fresh stuff. Synplant with its beautiful user interface, as you may have seen in some of my previous videos. Even Brian Eno showed it in a BBC Arena documentary, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And these sorts of approaches, expressivity is another one. If there are synthesizer sounds which make use out of the box of the controllers so well that I don't have to set up and program, like Alchemy. I notice a lot of sounds in the Camel Audio Alchemy, with the mod wheel. I can't see it right here, but a lot of these, you can't even see that. Oh, okay, next time I do a music video, I have to bridge this. But those are a few of the contexts. So I look for something beyond the technical craft, something even beyond emotions. It has to have a feeling that it belongs in a culture, that it could be an instrument, if not played by humans, then played by extraterrestrials. I imagine what Goro from Mortal Kombat, he and his forearms and his race, what are they called again? But what kind of instruments, if they had that sort of, I don't know if they get into that or they just smash them like Worf, I am not a merry man. But I imagine what they would play with multiple appendages. I imagine those sorts of life cycles and lifestyles from beyond our solar system. And that's a large part of why I do the Dream Journal. It's based on those uncensored, unfiltered, raw, uncut, candid dreams and the sorts of music of which I were an import-export company. What would I bring from beyond? What would I bring to show the people of planet Earth? And if this sounds far out, it's because I'm quite a storyteller. And these are the things in which I love to write literary short stories, flash fiction, but my predominant love right now is the music. So the written stories do support that. And on that note, thank you each and everyone who has supported me, not just money-wise, but of course your kind words and your questions and curiosities in sharing your growth with me, not just in music, but in other creative fields. There is so much to experience as a human being, and I feel such great delight and honor being a part of all of it with you.